Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So I'll try to keep this short as possible. This is going to be a video about the recent news we've received on the DMCA strike and the lawsuit against Ironmace from Nexon. Now, I did make a video before saying that there was just a letter sent and these letters can be sent for pretty much anything, and DMCA strikes on Steam have to be followed through thoroughly before they actually remove that strike. So originally I wasn't really surprised that the DMCA strike actually went through and Nexon was able to create some sort of way of blocking this game from being on Steam. I personally found this letter, some of it a little bit hilarious because, they're trying to claim that trade secrets are used to steal Project P3 and all its basically content was stolen by a guy named Mr. Choi, and they're upset because he stole it all on a private server and this was illegal. And now, because Ironmace was able to make this game so quickly, it must be all because of the stolen assets and basically the stolen employees that Ironmace is using. So Ironmace makes a response to this as well, which we'll get into later. But if you look at some of the stuff that Nexon is saying was stolen, or that it's just proof, like that there's no way this could be possible without all these assets from us. It's kind of a bit ridiculous because they're even claiming that like the general description of the game, which is just like a fantasy dungeon delver extraction thing, like that couldn't be created because it was never seen before. And no one with a creative mind would ever been able to make that unless they stole it from us. And like bricks on the wall and it being dark or using torches. Rust uses torches. Elden Ring uses torches. I think even in Twilight Princess you have a torch that you go through caves with. So some of these things are just plain ridiculous. I'm not going to go through them all, but one thing I will say and touch on is that they also claim that a whole bunch of stolen files have the exact same name, which when I first saw this, I'm like, geez, maybe that's kind of interesting if they can find actual files that were stolen. However, these are just basically them saying that all these files have the same name, like 3,000 and some files, so they must be stolen. But like in Dark and Darker's response, a lot of that is just kind of debunked right away, and I think it's down to like 41 files that are actually maybe the same, but because things like Torch can only be named so many different things, and the way that these file names are created, it just basically leaves no other option but a duplicated name. So it may just be coincidence that a lot of these names are the same. So my general impression of this letter is basically they're really, really mad at one guy. They don't want him making a project now that he's left Nexon, and they're basically trying to backtrack and create legal issues for him for leaving and some of the things he did while working there under COVID restrictions with private servers, etc., etc. Whole bunch of stuff. But when it comes to Dark and Darker, I feel like most of their proof is just really silly stuff. Like, look at these character models. Most of these character model or character 2D model photos they're trying to say were stolen. Well, first off, the ones that Dark and Darker have look better. And anyone and everyone that knows fantasy genres type content could probably draw up a cleric or a ranger and have a similar 2D model. So, silly stuff. But if we're going to just take a quick moment and get into the Dark and Darker's response, it's also a huge amount of writing because they've addressed every single issue in this letter. But I just wanted to kind of take a moment and appreciate the fact that they used ChatGPT to basically disprove one of the arguments made by Nexon. And in one of the arguments made was that they claimed the general description of Project P3 was so similar to Dark and Darker that it had to be stolen. So I kind of laugh at this because it's just kind of something I never expected to see happen with kind of these legal issues going on. They're using stuff like this. But anyway, Ironmace basically said, look, we put this same kind of stuff into ChatGPT and it shut out almost an identical description of this type of game. So it's not just us that could think of this. The AI can think of this. Anyone in the right mind could think of the same wording to describe a fantasy dungeon type game. Monsters, traps, you name it, are all in that description. So I thought that was kind of hilarious and kind of a little bit fun. The other major point they said when it comes to coding and using assets, they basically just threw a big shot at Nexon and said, look, if you want to prove any things, bring it on. And earlier in this argument, they said if people are actually concerned that they stole assets, it would actually be harder to use the stolen assets and just recreating most of these, since most of their stuff was used or purchased through the Unreal Engine store. The stuff they created was actually simpler to code themselves. So why would they hinder their progress by trying to take stolen assets and patch them into stuff they had created? Anyway, general impression is big, huge company trying to get mad at one guy, make that guy's life miserable, put lawsuits against him, and delay a project that most of these Ironmace guys really, really believe in. So I don't want to get any further into this. I could talk for hours about all these details. I'll let you guys form your own opinions and all that stuff. But just a little bit of comfort here. Grayson has been in the Discord and mentioned that there's been no response to these comments or all these people screaming that playtest is delayed. And they are going to update the Discord soon. Whether or not playtest 4 or playtest 5, will actually be on April 14th. My general impression is if they can get this DMCA strike removed quickly with Steam, then we're fine. All this other stuff is just noise, and mainly that lawsuit is against one guy, and that lawsuit will take years to finish. This DMCA strike was basically just an attempt to block this playtest. So if Ironmace can find a way to get it removed via Steam, or Steam's help, or Steam's lawyers, yeah, we may get a playtest. And Grayson basically said that there's been no news about canceling it yet. That's kind of a positive thing. I mean, hopefully we'll see some more stuff tomorrow. But for now, thank you all. I appreciate you all. And just a note for anyone that's trying to make a YouTube channel, do not post a video half an hour before major news comes out for the game that you're creating content for. No one really is interested in any type of gameplay right now. The game's not even out, so I don't blame people. But all this Ironmace, Nexon stuff is all the rave. So anyway, appreciate you all. Excited we got some information, but who knows what's coming next. Cheers.